Hello guys, and welcome back to the first episode on JAMB CRS, Christian Religious Studies. And of course, this video tutorial is brought to you by the O3 Schools JAMB app. It is all you need to succeed in your exam. We're going to talk about the app later, but for now, let's just look at the first topic. We're discussing the sovereignty of God, the sovereignty of God. I'm sure this is not your first time of hearing the word sovereignty. Okay, when they say someone someone is sovereign, right? You can only use that word for God. It's very important that we know that we can only use that word for what? For God. God is sovereign. All right. By sovereignty, we mean it describes the facts. It describes the fact that God is the Lord of all creation. Okay, He is the ruler of everything, right? Is the unquestionable God. I'm sure when some of you want to pray, you say, Father Lord, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the Ancient of Days, the beginning and the end, the first and the last, and so many words that we use to describe how God is, right? So God is what is sovereign, all right? Is the sovereign God, His sovereignty. In fact, anything that He decides everything, right? He does not listen to nobody controls Him, right? He was not created by anybody. Okay, so He is what? He is the ruler of everything. In fact, we lack words to describe how sovereign God is. All right, so that's why we say that sovereignty represents the ability of God to exercise divine will. Okay, it's what describes the ability of God to exercise divine will with all supremacy, without being questioned. The ability of God to exercise divine will, right, with all supremacy, without being questioned. You cannot question God. That's why sometimes we sing that song, unquestionable you are the Lord. Unquestionable you are the Lord. Unquestionable. You know that song, unquestionable. Don't mind my tiny voice, right? So God is unquestionable, right? In fact, you cannot question the decisions of God, right? That's why it's the sovereign God. Okay, so sovereignty represents the ability of, you must know this, that sovereignty represents the ability of God to exercise our divine will with all supremacy without being question. Okay, in fact, sovereignty is the true attribute of God. It is the main attribute of God, right? This ability to exercise divine will without being questioned, with all supremacy. He said this means that God has the absolute power, the totality, the total power, right, to decide the fate of mankind, right? So He can decide, right? That's why they say even before you were born, God knows you, right? So many words, so many sections in the Bible have been used to describe how sovereign God is, to make us understand that this God is too good, or is too big, is too mighty. What God cannot do does not exist. Have you not heard that before? Yes. So all those words is to describe the sovereignty of God. You say this means that God has the ability or the power, the absolute power. Look at it. They say absolute, total power to decide the fate of what? Of mankind. You must know that. And they say it is the name given to the unquestionable power of God to decide what happens. It is the what? It is the name given to the unquestionable power of God to decide what happens, when it will happen, and how it happens. Okay? It is the name given to the unquestionable power of God to decide what happens, when it happens, and how it happens. All these are always what we describe the sovereignty of God. All right. So now the sovereignty of God has been discussed, right? It's discussed by three major people that I want to look at right now. The first, okay, before I talk about Prophet Amos, let's quickly talk about that. All right. Sovereignty of God discussed by one Prophet Amos, which we are going to look at in this episode. Prophet Amos, number one, discussed by Prophet Amos in the book of Amos. All right. So this was described by Prophet Amos in the book of Amos. Check Amos chapter 9, right, verse 5 to 6. All right. Then, of course, also discussed by number 2 by Prophet Isaiah in the book of what? Isaiah. And then, of course, lastly, it was also discussed by the psalmist. The psalmist in the book of Psalms. Okay, so the sovereignty of God will be discussed by what? Firstly, Prophet Amos in the book of Amos. Also, Prophet Isaiah in the book of Isaiah. I think Isaiah 45, right? From verse 5 to 12. All right, then of course, the psalmist in the book of Psalm. Okay, so these are the people that discussed, that talked about the sovereignty of what? Of God. You must take note of them. Prophet Amos, Prophet Isaiah, and what? And the psalmist. Now, let's look at starting with talk with Prophet Amos. So Prophet Amos stated that the Lord God of hosts, this is the way he described the word sovereignty of God. He stated that the Lord God of hosts touches the earth. That the Lord God of hosts touches the earth and it melts. And all who dwell in that earth, they mourn. Look at it. He stated that the Lord God of hosts touches the earth and it melts, and all who dwell in it mourns. And all who dwell in it mourns, and all of it rises like the Nile, okay, and sinks again like the Nile of what? Of Egypt. All right. So this is the way Prophet Amos described the sovereignty of God. That God, the fingertip just need to not touch, and this earth will crumble, right? Everything in it will melt. All right. So he stated that the Lord God of hosts touches the earth. It's very easy to know. Okay, Prophet Amos, right? He stated that the Lord God of hosts touches the earth and it melts, and all who dwell in it mourns, okay? And all of it rises like the Nile and sinks again like the Nile of Egypt, okay? So this is how Prophet Amos, all right, describe the sovereignty of God. And most importantly, Prophet Amos described that what God shows his sovereignty in the following ways that we're going to see now. Let's quickly see the ways that Prophet Amos said that God shows what is sovereignty. Number 1, he said he built his upper chambers on the heavens and found his vote upon the earth. Number 1, he built his upper chambers on the heavens and found his vote, right? And found his vote upon the earth. Number 1, he said he built his upper chambers. I need the marker. He builds his upper chambers on the heavens and found his vote V-A-U-L-T, upon the earth. Okay, so Prophet Amos said that God displays his sovereignty in the following way. The first way is that he builds his upper chambers on the heavens, right, and found his vote upon the earth. This is one of the ways Prophet Amos said that God displays his sovereignty. Then number 2, also, just like how rain falls, right? The second one is describing how God takes water from the sea, right, and makes it fall down again as rain, right, and makes it fall down to the earth again. Okay, so in explicit terms, he said he calls for the waters. Number 2, he calls for the waters of the sea and pours them upon the face of the earth. Okay, so number 2, he said he calls for the waters of the sea, and then pours them upon the face of the earth, just like the way rain falls. Okay, waters in the sea, he calls them by name, and so it's time. They start falling down. So this is ways Prophet Amos described, right? Described what described as what God displays, how he described the display of what God's sovereignty. Okay, so likewise, the third one, he says, Prophet Amos, he employed the use of what simile, right? He employed the use of simile by what? By comparing. Okay, he employed the use of simile in the description of God's sovereignty, comparing it to the rising of the river Nile. Okay, so in the third one is he employed the use of what simile. You know, when you compare what two things, right? He compared what he was comparing what the sovereignty of God to the rising and sinking of what? Of the river Nile. When he said, look at the third one, where did he say that? Right? When he said, when we were talking about what God touches was the earth, right? And it met, and then what? It mourns, and all who dwell in it what? Mourns. And all that dwell in it mourns, and apart from mourning, he said, and all of it what? Rises like the Nile, right? And sinks, okay, like the Nile of what? Of Egypt. So he employed the use of simile. He was comparing God's sovereignty to the what? To the rising and sinking of what? Of the river Nile. So this is the third way that Prophet Amos, right, described that God displays his what? His sovereignty. This is how he described the display of God's sovereignty. Number one, he builds his upper chambers on the heavens and found his vote upon the earth. Then two, he calls for the waters of the seas and pours them upon the face of the earth. That's two. Then three, he employed the use of simile in the description of what? God's sovereignty by comparing to the rising and sinking of the river Nile. So this is the description of what, this is how what Prophet Amos described the sovereignty of God. We're not going to go to the past question, the O3 School JAMB app. All right. Like I say, it's all you need to succeed in your exam. If you do not have this app, you are doing yourself. All right. So go to Play Store right now, download the app and start practicing your way to success. The app has all the past questions you could ever need for your exam. All right. And then it has some features like the classroom feature. The classroom feature has lecture notes. It has lecture notes that you can practice with. Lecture notes you can practice with, and then take tests. Those lecture notes are structured according to the JAMB syllabus, so you have nothing to worry about. So you can study a particular topic, take test. Another one, take test like that until you are done with the full JAMB syllabus. Wonderful, right? Question search feature, you can search for question according to topic. You can don't go there and search for sovereignty. And the question that JAMB has set under sovereignty since long will come out for you to answer. Then, likewise, the UTME challenge, a challenge that will conduct for all students that are participating in JAMB for a particular year. You compete with your mates, you win prizes, you see your score released every week. It is a mock challenge, all right? You see your score released every week. Then you get used to how JAMB set that question, you build your confidence towards the main exam. Let's really rush to the app now and take this question. Okay, so please, if you want to activate the app, activation is 3,000 naira as at the time of talking to you right now. So if you want to activate the app, make sure you download the app from Play Store, click on activate. Once you click on activate, at the top you see where they wrote buy activation key. Click on it, you will see what the payment option. You can transfer to the app account. You can use your ATM card to pay online. Anyone you want to do is safe. All right, your funds are safe. Nobody is scamming. There's nothing about scam here. Okay, so this is a 2016 question from the app number 46. It is being displayed on your screen right now. It said, in the book of Amos, God is described as one who builds his upper chambers. In the book of Amos, God is described as one who builds his upper chambers, right? In the heavens to depict his what? To depict his what? A, they say sovereignty. B, wisdom. C, might. D, glory. Is it to depict his wisdom? No, not his might, rather, not the glory, but what? To depict the sovereignty of God. Okay, so our correct answer there will be option A, sovereignty. Now, let's see. This is another question, 1997, question number 1. They say, in extolling the sovereignty of God, In extolling the sovereignty of God, Amos contrasted him with the Nile, which he described as what? A, rising and sinking. B, drying and flooding. C, the source of the waters of the sea. D, the source of Egypt's power. Okay, and of course, it's very obvious here, the rising, comparing it to what? The rising and sinking of the river Nile. There are thousands of other questions on this application, so please download the app right now. Make sure you like this video, make sure you subscribe, make sure you are sharing, and make sure you activate your app and start practicing your way to success. Join the UTME challenge, all right? And of course, you see that what you are well prepared, way ahead of your mates, even before the exam date. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you in the next episode when we'll look at Prophet Isaiah's discussion about what the sovereignty of God, how Prophet Isaiah described the sovereignty of God. See you in that class.